right direction in this province. The Saskatchewan Party wants to do everything that we can to continue to build on that momentum. We want to ensure that Saskatchewan's economy continues to prosper and continues to grow, continues to create jobs in communities across this province, and continues to generate career opportunities for young people. We're also working to ensure that life in Saskatchewan is more affordable for our families and more affordable for everyone. That's why, if we are re-elected, we will introduce a new tax credit to make the cost of home renovations more affordable. That's why we will lower power rates for everyone in Saskatchewan by 10% for the next year. Today, I want to discuss another initiative that will make life more affordable for Saskatchewan residents, for Saskatchewan students in particular, and their families. A re-elected Saskatchewan Party government will increase the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship by 50%, from $500 a year up to $750 a year. This 50% increase will boost the total amount offered over the 4 years of attendance from $2,000 to $3,000. This comes directly off of your tuition costs. We expect that about 8,000 students in this province will benefit each and every year. Those students will come from low or middle-income families. The Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship will continue to be delivered as an income-tested program. Students attending our universities or technical schools are eligible to receive this scholarship, as are students in adult basic education or GED programs. The very people that are working hard to upgrade their education, to put themselves in the very best position to succeed in their careers. More than 113,000 students have received the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship since it was introduced by our government way back in 2012. It's just one program that was created by the Saskatchewan Party to support our post-secondary students and to encourage students to stay right here at home, to stay in Saskatchewan, to pursue their studies. Our graduate retention program is yet another example. The GRP is the most aggressive program of its kind in our nation. In fact, today it is the only program of its kind in Canada. It is unique to our nation. The graduate retention program provides $20,000 in income tax credits to students who choose to live and to work in our province of Saskatchewan upon their graduation. More than 74,000 students have benefited from the GRP program. The graduate retention program, coupled with many career opportunities for young people available here in Saskatchewan, are just one of the reasons that our province has grown by nearly 170,000 people since the Saskatchewan Party formed government. Making life more affordable and creating more opportunities for our young people to study, to live, and to work right here in Saskatchewan. It's part of our plan to continue to build strong families, to continue to build strong communities, and to continue with a strong recovery in this province. One other thing that I just wanted to mention here today before I conclude my remarks with the news coming out of the United States of America and with respect to their presidential campaign. I know so many people may be wondering if here in this province we are campaigning safely. And I would say that I believe we are. Obviously, there are many differences between our campaign and the presidential campaign that is being conducted south of the border in the USA. For example, we're in a truck, not in a plane. We're staying in one province, not traveling across the nation. We're not holding large rallies. We're limiting the number of people at each of our events, and we are physically distancing, as you can see, at each of our events. And of course, in Saskatchewan, there are just quite simply a lot fewer active cases today than just about anywhere you would travel throughout the U.S. So just like everyone else in this province, we are being cautious, and we are doing everything that we can to protect ourselves, to protect our families, and to protect all of those around us. So I would thank you very much for joining us here in Moose Jaw today, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those
now. Regarding the natural gas plant that's being built here in Moose Jaw, both of the contractors that are currently being considered are from out-of-province companies. Ryan Miley has been here and he said that he would like to see the contract go to a more local company and he'd like to ensure that the workers are all from Saskatchewan and from Moose Jaw. Would that be something you'd be able to commit to as well?
Well, there's two things that we look at with any of our procurement within government, and Sask Builds is working not only with government, executive government entities such as our ministries and Treasury Board crowns, but also with our crown corporations on the procurement strategies that we have here in the province of Saskatchewan. And we have increased our local content requirements with respect to the procurement strategies that we have to ensure that whoever is bidding on Saskatchewan capital procurement projects is utilizing Saskatchewan workers to the greatest degree possible. That being said, there is some instances such as the construction of some of the natural gas turbines. It just simply doesn't happen here in the province. So there will have to be some procurement in this type of a project that would have to be brought in from outside of Saskatchewan, but most certainly Priority Saskatchewan and under Sask Builds has been working very hard to ensure that we are putting Saskatchewan people to work when we are investing Saskatchewan dollars. In saying that, we also have to be very prudent and ensure that we are investing the dollars of the people of the province very wisely, and there has to be a very competitive bid process as well. So we feel that we are in a very good place, not only with our procurement of the natural gas facility here, but all of the highways procurement, the schools, the hospitals that we are building across this province. But it's a very good and an important question, because the first step is you need a government that is committed to investing in their communities. This government most certainly has been and will continue to invest in communities. And we were out here not long ago announcing a new school that will be built in the community of Moose Jaw. There's a new hospital not too far from where we are here today that is completed. And this is a government that will continue to invest in that very capital infrastructure that communities need to provide the services that people expect their provincial government to be providing.
And just as one more follow-up, a part of the action plan for your 2020 platform includes growing the oil and gas industry. Last year, your government promised to reduce SaskPower's carbon emissions by 40% by the year 2030. How do you reconcile moving towards greener technology while also doubling down on growing the fossil fuel industry?
The greener technology is exactly how we are growing the energy industry here in Saskatchewan. And when you look at climate change and the conversation that is very global in its scope, we need to consider and we need to look at how we are producing or developing the natural resources here in Saskatchewan. And specific to the energy industry, I would say that we are doing a very good job in producing some of the most sustainable energy around the world. When you look, and people would do well to access Saskatchewan energy because of its lower carbon footprint. When you look at what they're doing up in the Lloydminster area with the methane action plan and how they are reducing the methane emissions from the oil that is being produced in that particular area, it is absolutely not happening anywhere else in the world, and it's something we should be very proud of in this province. I was out here last year in this community at the Gibson's refinery where they had made an investment that qualified for a provincial incentive that we had provided, an investment that, yes, provided for some additional production, but it also took about 20 to 25% of the carbon out of each barrel of oil that was being produced at the Gibson refinery right here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That is an investment that we can be proud of in this province. That is an investment that we need to work very hard to ensure that our customers throughout North America and around the world are aware of. Innovation is most certainly exactly how we are going to continue to expand what is one of the most sustainable energy industries in the world. The same holds true for Saskatchewan agriculture. The same holds true for Saskatchewan manufacturing. We have the Minister of Innovation right here that can go on at great length with what our best and brightest are doing in the industries here in Saskatchewan in providing sustainable fuels such as uranium for clean nuclear power to other places around the world. We have a great story to tell in this province, and if given the opportunity post-October 26, this is a government that is going to continue to advocate for the expansion of our export-based industries, going to continue to advocate for the expansion of our sustainable products that we can provide the rest of the world. We're part of the solution here in this province. We're part of the Canadian climate change solution, and that needs to be identified, and that story needs to be told worldwide.
Mr. Moe, Evan Radford, Regina Leader Post. So just going to switch gears a little bit here. I want to know why the Saskatchewan Party isn't interested in a judicial inquiry into the GTH, given the enthusiasm leadership candidates like Gord Wyand have previously shown for the idea. I want you to respond to that, please.
Well, we've been very clear and numerous times with respect to the investment that the government has made in the global transportation hub and the assets that are there, is that this is not a business that government should have been in, and this is a business that we are and have plans to move it to the private sector. In saying that, we are not going to move it at a fire sale. We are going to move it at its fair and appropriate value. With respect to the global transportation hub, and it has been one of the most scrutinized projects that this government has endeavored. We had the conflict of interest commissioner that had looked into the global transportation hub. We had the provincial auditor that has looked into the operations and the formation of the global transportation hub. The provincial auditor has provided us with some recommendations, of which this government has most certainly accepted and has put those recommendations into action with respect to some of the land procurement and around the global transportation hub. So we've been very clear on this. We've talked about it many times at length. There will not be a public inquiry into the global transportation hub, as we feel that it has been looked at by the conflict of interest commissioner, the provincial auditor, and we have put into place any of the recommendations that have come out of that scrutiny, and we're happy to be moving forward with divesting of that land over the course of the next number of years.
What is your response to the fact that a forensic audit was not conducted?
We had two of our independent officers of the Legislative Assembly. Both did conduct audits into that and looked at the dealings around the global transportation hub. So we're satisfied with the recommendations that were made by the provincial auditor. We put them into action, and we're looking forward to divesting of that land, which was the original intent of the project all along.
Do you have any comment that Ms. Baudry-Millard, to your right, has previously said she's open to the idea of a public inquiry?
Yeah, when we have a leadership event in our province, which we did a few years ago, it's a great opportunity to stretch the boundaries of the party policy that we have. As we stand here now, the policy of the party is that we are satisfied with the provincial auditor's recommendations. We most certainly accepted them and put them into action, and as well as we've had other independent officers that have looked at with great scrutiny at the operations around the formation of the global transportation hub. At the end of the day, I think it's important for us to realize that there most certainly is an asset there in the property that is serviced out at the global transportation hub. As you know, we have procured in the private sector someone to manage the property, as well as to look for opportunities to ensure that we're able to actually sell that asset into the private sector. And I think we should never discount the opportunity that still lies within the global transportation hub. We're an export-based province. We do have challenges at times in getting our products out of the province by rail, by air, by truck. However, we transport those by pipeline as well. And the global transportation hub may have an opportunity to play in enhancing our opportunities to export our products, but we need to be very careful as we move forward to ensure that we are selling that asset into the private sector, ensuring that we are getting the fair market value for the property that we have invested in, but also with an eye to how it may enhance the broader economy here in the province, as well as we are continuing to export products all around the world.
Following up on your comment today, you said it's a business the government wants to get out of and shouldn't have been in. Do you acknowledge that there was some mistakes made?
No, I acknowledge that this is a business that the private sector has all of the ability of forming, and the government made a choice to get into it a number of years ago. We most certainly have taken any of the recommendations around how this facility was formed that the provincial auditor provided, and we put those into action. And as we move forward, we will be realizing the value of that asset on behalf of the people of the province, and also it is our hope to realize the value of what this asset can do with respect to whatever increase to our export-based economy that can arrive from it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Kaboom. Yes.
Hi, Emily Pasiak with CBC. Matt, do you need me to wait till you get that? Okay. I'm wondering if you have any details on how you actually plan to balance the budget in 4 years? The promises so far seem to involve a lot of spending.
Yeah, we're into day 3 of the campaign. We do have some commitments around what we will be providing the people of the province if they should choose as Saskatchewan Party to continue as their government here in the province. We did put forward our Q1 report, which had a plan to balance by the year 2024. Later in the campaign, we will be unveiling our entire costing platform, which will take into account where we were in that Q1, adding in any of the commitments that we have made up until and including our entire platform, and we will have a commitment to balance by 2024. It's a good question because this is a significant difference between us and the Saskatchewan NDP as they are going on what is quite frankly a reckless spending initiative. They had over $1 billion committed by day 1 of the campaign. Again, some additional dollars yesterday. And on day 1, they came forward with a tax hike on Saskatchewan people, introduced a tax hike as their signature platform announcement. And I think right there on day 1, you have seen the difference between the Saskatchewan NDP and the Saskatchewan Party. One party is going to tax and spend, and the Saskatchewan Party is going to continue with investing in our communities across the province, but doing so in a very prudent fashion, always with a plan to get back to balance here in the province.
What do you make of Sask Party candidate Daryl Cooper's comments on coronavirus being caused by sunspots?
Well, first I would say that I will continue to get the advice that I receive with respect to coronavirus and Saskatchewan's response to coronavirus from our Chief Medical Health Officer, Dr. Shahab, who I have spent many hours with over the course of the last time. I understand there was a social media post that was shared by a candidate in Saskatoon, and I believe that he has acknowledged that this is a theory, it's not scientific or credible. I would agree with that. I have not seen the post myself, but I would agree that given the information I have had, that it is not scientific or credible. As I would say again and reiterate to the people of this province, we've taken our advice from Dr. Shahab. I believe the advice that he has provided us in the way of medical health recommendations and our response to COVID-19 has been very effective. You know, I would point back to the fact that we were able to continue to have 87% of people work throughout our response to COVID-19 here in the province of Saskatchewan. We were able to reopen our economy in Saskatchewan as quickly as any other province across the nation, and we now have the lowest unemployment record in the nation of Canada. Our recovery is underway here in Saskatchewan, and much of that is due to, one, the advice Dr. Shahab has provided Saskatchewan people, but just as importantly, and likely more importantly, is the fact that what we have done collectively across this province in adhering to that advice. It is the decisions that we are making each and every day, ourselves on this campaign and people in communities right across Saskatchewan, the very personal decisions in adhering to that advice that are providing us with the collective success that we are having when it comes to COVID-19.
Can you commit to providing stable funding for second stage shelters for domestic violence victims? This
government has, and maybe Tina, I'd ask you just to step in on this as well on some of the domestic violence investments that we have made. But I point back to, first of all, some of the advocacy that was done by our late friend and colleague Kevin Phillips as he walked more miles in red pumps than anybody I know over the years to raise advocacy and, yes, money for a domestic violence shelter in the community of Melfort. And I would also point to the fact that was the first investment in a domestic violence shelter here in the province. There's more work to do on this, and I think I'll just allow Tina Beaudry-Miller to speak a little bit on the investments that we've made, the commitments that we've made thus far, but also where we need to go as a province on this conversation, but more importantly, the investment in domestic violence.
Thank you very much for the question. I can say that there have been many conversations regarding the second stage shelters in the province, and I cannot speak today for the Minister of Justice, but I can tell you that we've had numerous conversations on this. I do want to say that the Minister of Justice in particular has been an incredible advocate on this particular file. We need to recall that we have enacted, since the time that I've been in office, the privacy law changes, which would not allow people to spread revenge porn, for example. We've made changes to the Residential Tenancies Act so that someone can break a lease if they need to get away from a violent domestic partner. We were the first province in Canada to institute Clare's Law, We currently have a piece going on with the Regina Police Force to look at unfounded sexual assault cases, to review those cases that were found to be that were unfounded, and they're going to review those, which is really important work. I think we're one of the first provinces in Canada to do that as well. So there's been a number of things that have, and the 5 paid days of leave as well for individuals who are leaving domestic violence situations. So those are all incredibly important pieces. We just a couple of weeks ago announced the 211 line, which was a pilot project and has now been expanded over the next 3 years. So there's a single window of entry for someone looking for supports, that they don't have to phone 60 numbers in order to find help if they're in an emergency situation. So I think there's a lot of really good work that's being done. You will know that we will also be having an awareness campaign rolling out very soon. That is really important work, because we can do all we want on the reactionary side, but we need to get at the prevention side, and we recognize that, and I think you're going to see some very, very strong initiatives on that part very quickly. Thank you.
Can I ask?
I would just take the opportunity to thank Tina for the work that she does in all of her files, but in particular the work that she does as a minister, has been doing as a Minister of the Status of Women.
I just had one sort of clarifying question to ask. Why not release your plan for, like, the cost plan earlier in the campaign?
We're going to release our campaign over the course of the next number of days, and once our announcements are out, we will release the full costing of our campaign. Again, this is a difference that you will see, I have seen in past campaigns between the Saskatchewan Party and the Saskatchewan NDP. We will have our plan costed out. It will have a plan to return to balance, and I think those questions should also be asked of the Leader of the Opposition in the Saskatchewan NDP. We must always remember that as we invest Saskatchewan people's dollars back into their communities, we must do so prudently, and we must do so with outcomes in mind. The record of this party is doing exactly that. I mentioned a couple of the announcements that have occurred here in Moose Jaw. I think of the hospital. I think of the hockey arena. I think which was a joint project with the municipality. And I think most recently when I joined Tim as well as Greg out here in the community to announce and have a sod turning of the new school here in the community of Moose Jaw. And the fact of the matter is this is a government that has been committed to that type of investment in community after community after community across this province on behalf of the people that we represent. We're out over the course of this month now asking for their support so that we can continue to prudently invest with outcomes in mind back into their communities. That we're going to release a full costing towards the end of our campaign, and that costing will tie into where we had left off at Q1. And I would just say this. We always have been and will continue to be a government that does what we say we will do, and that will continue.
Good morning, Jason Antonio, Moose Jaw Today, Moose Jaw Express. Can you explain the thinking behind increasing the funding of this scholarship that you recently announced and how you think it might benefit students?
Tina, would you like to speak to that? I have some ideas, but I like yours better.
Thanks, Premier. Well, thanks very much for the question. This particular scholarship is needs tested, so the increase in the amount is actually going to benefit those students who are low-income students to middle-income students the most. And so when they apply for their student loan, they will have the opportunity to have a 50% increase in the amount that they receive through the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship. So it's going to help those students who may find it difficult to attend university or Saskatchewan Polytech to begin with. That's who we're targeting with this investment.
I would just add to that, the overarching goal of the Saskatchewan Party has been to provide careers here in the province, to grow the opportunity for people that are moving here, but also for our next generation, and to ensure that we make life more affordable for families. This is part of making life more affordable for families and offering our students the opportunity to take their training right here at home. It dovetails in with the graduate retention program, which is a further incentive for people to stay here, to find that career, and to make a home in a community in Saskatchewan. Who knows, it may even be the community that raised them. This is a far different thinking than we have had in decades gone by here in the province with our children, our children moving to other areas of Canada and other areas of the world. We most certainly think that Saskatchewan has everything to offer that anywhere else does in the world, and we're going to continue to invest in that very opportunity for our kids to stay here right at home and to raise their families in a community in Saskatchewan. Thank you, everybody.